Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk, Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Unity of Garden Park, New Thought Philadelphia, the Sunshine Cathedral, Unity of Savannah, and the Om Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network. And now, let's experience Center for Spiritual Living Denver.
Hello again, dear ones. So good to be back with you. I had to have my wife go through YouTube and scroll back a little bit to see when the last time I was with you might have been, and that was back in October. So I know that some of us might not, I don't really remember what was going on back in October. It seems like it's been almost a lifetime ago, and a lot of change is happening. And I think that's appropriate for what we're going to share today, because the theme this month is what if. So today being the first Sunday of the month, brand new theme for the month, and we start with what if. And when Alice sent me that information, I thought, what if I let Teresa give the talk? What if I just wear a tie-dye and let my hair down? But then something more came to me. Picturing a new world. Like many of us, I woke up yesterday morning to a whole new world. And I had to create a new picture of the world that I want, not the picture that others think might be appropriate. But I'm getting ahead of myself. There's something you need to know before we get too far into this talk. Over the past little over 2 months, I have personally been picturing a new world. Some of you may know my birthday is in December. That means I'm a Sagittarius. And this is the year of the fire horse. And I was born in 1966, so that means I am a fire horse. And when the fire horse and the Sagittarius decided to get together, they decided it was time for me to become radically honest and radically transparent and create a new world. And what that meant for me was that I had to let go of something. I had to let go of a 40-year addiction to marijuana. And as I'm at just over 70 days clean and sober, I've been joking with a lot of my friends that with great clarity also comes great confusion. But what I trust is that great confusion is leading to even greater clarity. So when this idea of picturing a new world came forward, I went, yeah, I like this idea. So every great becoming begins as a quiet what if. That what if arises from the deeper chambers of our consciousness. See, I didn't have a problem with marijuana. I didn't think I needed to let go of that. But something in the deeper chambers of my consciousness said, what if? What if you step into the world and claim the greatness that you know you have always been here to express? What if you step into the world and claim a picture of a new world, of a new way of being, of a new way of showing up? So this picture of a new world invites us into an imaginal space where transformation is born. If this sounds familiar, this is the blurb that was on the promo image for this week. Picturing a new world invites us into an imaginal space where transformation is born. What if the visions we hold in our consciousness are not wishful thinking, but signals from a deeper intelligence already moving towards expression? That's what we're going to explore. how a sacred imagination becomes the doorway through which a new way of living begins to take form. Because it doesn't happen like that, does it? Don't we wish it would? Teresa's reading this morning. Get a copy of that. Or, well, I'm going to steal it from you, so I don't know if anybody else will get a chance. But we want to move into that place where we let go of following what others have told us we should be doing, where we let go of thinking that the universe is some grand idea, some static experience, and we're just traveling through it, bumping into ships in the night, wondering what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. And rather, I believe, stepping into this imaginal space where we use the tools that Science of Mind gives us to create the life we truly desire. So I use this phrase in here, imaginal space, and you all know me a little bit at this point. I got to go and figure out, well, what does that really mean? The imaginal space. Now, many of us have heard the story of the caterpillar and the butterfly, and the caterpillar turns into goo, and the scientists call that imaginal cells. So what is imaginal space? Imaginal space is a holistic, multi-sensory, and embodied realm of experience. Embodied is a big word in that. I'm going to say it again because I said that kind of fast. Imaginal space is a holistic, multi-sensory, got to feel it, smell it, taste it, touch it, imagine it, and embodied realm of experience, which means that I have to be able to really feel it. With my letting go also comes taking on some new things, like a whole regimen of supplements and a whole new diet and a whole new exercise routine. Anybody remember what it's like to start going to the gym again? You don't have to raise your hands to that one. That embodied experience. And some days I come home going, oh, I could barely stand up. And some days I come home going, yeah. We're here to embody these experiences. Now, this imaginal space, to continue with our definition, is distinct from either fantasy or rational thought. It's not just purely, oh, I wish God would drop a gold brick in my hand. I wish that we wouldn't have to have war on the planet anymore. It's not pure fantasy, and it's not pure rational thought. I need $5,000 in my bank account by Monday, and it's going to come through this avenue and that avenue. And if I go do this and hustle a little bit over here, then this is going to come in this way. The liminal space is where individuals engage with symbols, images, and archetypes to form a psychological transformation that is often creative and deep, often unconscious, deeply unconscious. Insights. See, we talk about consciousness a lot in this movement, right? In New Thought. We talk about consciousness, and we know that we have that everyday consciousness. That's what your mind is listening to me right now, trying to process what in the world is this guy really talking about. And then there's the unconscious part that says, oh, I'm all right. And then there's our super conscious as well. I believe this imaginal space we're talking about lives in that super conscious space. And that beyond the knowing. I don't know how I knew, but I just knew that today would be the day. I don't know how I knew to make that decision, but I just knew. Every great becoming begins as a quiet what if, arising from the deeper chambers of our consciousness. Notice in that quote, I didn't discern between subconscious, conscious, or superconscious. The what if can come from anywhere. It can come in the midst of our dreams. It can come in the midst of our sleepless nights. It can come in the midst of that space where we're just zoning out to a YouTube video, or maybe when we're trying to write an essay. In religious science, in the science of mind, at Centers for Spiritual Living, I believe we enter into that imaginal space in three primary ways: prayer, meditation, and visioning. Now, many of you are going, there's the Robert we know. He's going to go off on visioning for a little while. Yeah, I am. However, as things become confusing, sometimes they become a little more clear. Now, I have long taught that prayer is a one-way conversation with God. We tell God what we want. This is what I see. This is what I know. This is my desire. In meditation, we sit and we allow God to tell us what's going on. And in visioning, it's more of a two-way conversation. We ask questions, which is kind of saying, this is what I want. I want to know. What should I let go of now? What should I hold on to? What is coming forward? We ask questions that are the directive form. And then we listen in the silence for a few moments and allow for the divine to reveal itself. And in that, I kind of threw something away at one point in my journey. Visualizing. I let go of it. I thought it was like, that's airy-fairy. That's not part of it. That's not God. That's the ego. Visualizing. I've come to realize that's part of this imaginal space. I take what I receive in the vision, and then I can visualize upon that to create what I really desire. So I want to give you an example. I've been visioning for going on 20 years now. And a while back, something that started coming through, and this is a while back means like a decade ago. There was this thing that started coming through that said, write more. Now, I've always had that from a young child, the dream of being an author. But I buried that. Not me. I don't have that. I'm a speaker. I don't do that authoring thing. I only write if I have to, or if it needs to be in a newsletter or something like this, but that's not me. But dang it, it kept showing up in my visioning. Write the book, write the book, write the book, write this, be a writer, write more, write more, write more. It kept just pounding me. In religion, in science, spiritual circles, we call that the cosmic 2x4, smacking you upside the head. I'm learning how to let that 2x4 be a little more gentle. And in my visioning, so this write more kept coming through. But I didn't do anything about it. I just let it sit there. Now I'm building a ministry. I'm building a network. I'm doing all these other things. Booking gigs and putting together programs and classes. And I don't remember exactly where it was, but I remember one day closing my visioning book, my visioning journal, where I keep all my notes, and thinking to myself, well, what would it look like if I were a full-time author? If I were writing all the time? If I had a body of work that was consistently evolving and revealing itself to me, and if I could train my mind to keep track of what I said in that piece 6 months ago and make sure it lines up with the piece that I wrote today. And somebody introduced me to Substack. Anybody here familiar with Substack? For those that are going, what? Substack.com, just like it sounds, Substack.com. And if you go on there and you look for my ministry, New Thought Media Network, you'll find a body of work. And if you go on there and you look for the work of becoming, you'll find another body of my work. And if you search me, you might find me. It's a unique platform. It's not like Facebook. It's not like Instagram. It's not just doom scrolling and looking at the latest pictures from whatever war or whatever fake images somebody wants you to believe we should be believing. It's authors, it's writers, it's real people sharing the experiences of their lives. And yeah, there's some journalists on there, and it's a place where some people that are kind of getting kicked out of the mainstream are showing up to share their wisdom and their perspective and their opinions. But I wrote a little something. And a couple of people said, hey, that's pretty cool. So I did a little more of this imagining. Our song spoke about it. Being in that place of actively imagining what would your life be like if you let go of the expectations people have of you or that you've imposed upon yourself and really step into what you've always wanted to do. Wow. So I started writing. I started imagining. I started spending time every single day in my office, 15 minutes, with some great headphones and some nice subliminal music, imagining how I might create a life or what my life would look like if I was being paid to be who I am, if I was being supported to be who I am. And something said twice a week. I'm like, what? Twice a week. You got to put out a piece twice a week. Okay. That was December of 2024. And I started writing twice a week. And at first I was just writing about my travels and my journeys, and there's some really horrible writing back there. It's still sitting there if you really want to go look for it. But then I started to find a little bit more and imagine a little bit more. And I listened to the vision a little bit more. And I started to do a little more prayer around what this all might look like. So I started writing twice a week. And along the way, people started hitting that subscribe button. And I wasn't asking them to do it, they were just doing it. So I wrote a little more. And in Substack, you also have the opportunity to financially support the authors you like, whether through a monthly subscription or a one-time annual donation or whatever it might be. And so I started opening to what that might look like. Wouldn't you know it, people started supporting it. No, it's not a living. It's not everything I do. But it is part of the flow, part of the allowing, part of the grand picture of how anyone can express and live who they truly are here to be. And along the way, I realized that I was writing underneath the name of the ministry, but I was coming into my own voice a bit more, and the ministry has its own work, and I have my own voice, so I kind of split things off, and now I got two of them. I let New Thought Media Network's page be a little more directive or out-facing, sharing with people what's happening in the New Thought movement. People that are putting on events, guest authors, being able to help and support authors and voices that may not be heard, that may be marginalized, that are not being platformed in the way I would like to see them. Events and other things that are happening around the movement. And I opened that second channel that is, again, called The Work of Becoming. That's what I'm doing. Isn't that what we're all doing? Becoming a little more. Becoming who we've always been, who we've always come here to be. And the work of becoming takes a deeper dive into the human journey. See, I'm really clear. We're not here to transcend the human journey. It's been said how many times that we are spiritual beings having a human experience? Yes. But far too many people seem to think that we should let go of the human experience and just sit around having a kumbaya, a spiritual experience. Hey, that's nice for a weekend or two. That's nice when you get on retreat. But I'm going to be honest, it gets really boring sitting around meditating for 18 hours a day, every day of the week. I've never actually done that. That's just, we have to, we'll talk about that later. We have to bring the divine into the human experience. Because if we don't, well, the default is what we're seeing happening in the Middle East this weekend. If we don't, the default is what's going on in Kansas right now. If we don't, the default is what's happening in Tennessee right now. If we don't bring the divine into our human experience, we default. And I don't want to go there. I don't know about you, but I believe if you're sitting in this room, if you're watching us online, you've been given a glimpse of a greater vision. Sharif Abdullah, in his book from 1999, wrote it as a world that works for all. Centers for Spiritual Living calls it a world that works for everybody. I like a world that works for all. And I've actually heard that phrase on television of all places. It goes back a ways. There was a television show many years ago called Madam Secretary with Tia Leone. Anybody remember that? We watched that program. And it was okay. And, it's drama. It's TV drama. And we know it's not real. But somewhere in the midst of one of those episodes, something happens. And she breaks into this rant. And she says, or we could get about doing the hard work of creating a world that works better for everybody. And I broke down in tears. I thought to myself, who from CSL is in that writer's room? Who is it that believes what we believe that's in that writer's room? Because somebody is. Somebody borrowed that phrase. Somebody thought, how can we write this into the script? What are you writing into the script? I get it. Times are confusing. With great clarity comes great confusion. But I believe that the great confusion we are experiencing right now is leading us to a greater clarity. What we see on the news does not appear to be peace on earth. What we see on our news feed does not appear to be peace on earth. But just like we were reminded in Teresa's reading, we can change that news feed, can't we? We can change that news feed because, in everything that goes by on your news feed, somewhere there's like 3 little dots somewhere, or there's a setting, and you can go in there and you can click a button that says block. Block this. Now, I don't know about you, but my news feed, especially on the primary platform I am on, not calling out any names, Facebook, they just keep filling me with what they think they want me to know. It's propaganda. So I spend a little more time every day hitting the block button, going through those 3 steps, hit the 3 little dots, scroll down, and block. And you know what's happening? People like us are showing up more in my news feed because I keep blocking all that other stuff, and they don't have enough people to put in my news feed that are trying to sell that stuff. So the only thing left are the people that are speaking about peace, that are speaking about love, that are speaking about community. The caterpillar becomes a butterfly through imaginal cells. That is the individual. Those that have heard me before know that I've been talking for a while now that we do our inner work so that we can do the work in community. Imaginal space is about creating space. It's about creating a beloved community. It's about getting together and allowing ourselves to picture, to imagine what life can be like when we're not rushing off to the next thing, When we're not trying to hustle to get as much money in my bank account as I can. When we're not worried about the me, but we're thinking about the we. How are we going to bring peace to the Middle East? By being a beloved community. By allowing ourselves to be in those messy conversations, in those difficult conversations, and what many call those crucial conversations. How do I bring more love into this space? You know, you have an opportunity today. Following this service, sorry to the folks online, not you guys, but if you're in the room, and this is the reason you want to come in the room, if you're in the room, we're going to circle up these chairs and we're going to sit together with no agenda, with no pre-planned talk. We're going to eat cookies and drink tea or coffee, and we're going to talk about whatever it is that we want to talk about. Whatever it is that you want to discuss, whatever it is that we want to explore as a community. Imaginal space is a holistic, multisensory, and embodied realm of experience, distinct from mere fantasy or rational thought, where individuals engage with symbols, images, and archetypes to foster psychological transformation, creativity, and deep, often unconscious insights. So I got no idea what's going to show up in that circle today. But I know it's got to be good. Because I know it's God. I know it's the one. And I know it's you bringing the divine into the human form. I invite you to close your eyes and join me in a moment of that consciousness. Even if it feels unconscious, we're going to allow it to become super conscious. To allow ourselves to come into a moment together where we recognize the oneness of life, that one power, one presence, one infinite intelligence that moves and breathes and has its being, as everyone here, everyone watching online, those that might be watching this at another time, later in the week, years from now, from another dimension. The one revealing itself as all of life. Some call that one Buddha, others call it Brahma or Vishnu or Kuan Yin, source energy, divine God, Mother, Father, Gaia. Regardless of the name, regardless of the image we hold, the oneness is revealing itself as each of our lives perfectly. Revealing as each of us whole, complete, nothing missing, nothing absent. That is the very truth of your life. And so I invite each one of us into a deeper sense of this imaginal space for just a moment. Imagine this room filled to overflowing. Imagine this community with its own building again, taking over a larger space, filling a hall of hundreds. And then imagine this community in that shape, in that form, expressing the beloved community, multiplying out across this city, across this planet, across the region, across all of time and space. Groups and communities and ideas and all of it coming together to create true peace on earth. Imagine a world where borders are irrelevant. Imagine a world where there is enough food and enough resources and enough homes for everyone. Heck, that already exists. There's already enough empty houses across North America to give every homeless person a place to live. There's already enough food to make sure no one goes hungry. There is enough money for everyone to have their share and to be enough left over. There is enough of everything for everyone to prosper. And as I've recently been exploring, prosperity is not about financial abundance. Prosperity is a consciousness. It is a mindset. It is an experience of saying yes to the divine overflowing abundance of life and sharing that freely. Imagine a world free from all the suffering, free from all the horrors that we see, free from the abuse of others. Imagine the garden, because there is a garden. It exists in our mind. And I invite each one here to bring that vision, that imagination into our daily lives, into our workplaces. And when somebody tells a dirty joke, we say, no, 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 that's not the way it is. And when someone says, well, that's just the way it is, we say, no, 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 no. And when someone says we have to go to war, we say, oh, no, no, no. I have a vision. I have a vision of peace on earth. I have a vision where we are all working together. And what I know is together we are bringing forth a glorious vision of a world that works for all, in all ways and always. So I am filled in this moment with a deep sense of gratitude for this opportunity to be together, for this opportunity to cast into the creative law a vision of peace on earth, a vision of beloved community, of sacred connection, with creating an imaginal space right here. From that sense of gratitude, I release this word into that universal law of creation, into that space that cannot return this word void, that is already bringing forth all the resources, all the people, all the connections, everything necessary to make this so. And I invite you to join me in an affirmation of this truth by simply saying, and so it is. Thank you.